My name is Georgette, and I'm really glad to have all of you on board. But before we start yet, we'll wait for about 2 minutes for every other person to join before we get started. And I'm very excited about today. In the meantime, please feel free to share where you're joining us from in the chat. Let's get to know ourselves. And as I introduced earlier, my name is Georgette Udo. I'm one of the colleagues from Maggreen, and I'm happy to be joining with you guys. I'm happy to learn today. So please let's get to know ourselves in the chat. Thank you. So good afternoon once again, and thank you all for joining. Without further ado, we'll get straight into it. And thank you for those who were able to put in their names in the chat. Hi, Ken, and I'm glad you're joining. Thank you for joining all the way from Zimbabwe. Hello, Aisha from Nigeria. Oh, you're super excited for today's session. I am too. I'm sure you can tell from my voice. Please let me know if you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. So today is a wonderful day, and if you have joined us so far, you know we're going somewhere exciting today. Thank you all for joining in, and we're starting now. My name, like I said earlier, is Georgette Udo, and I'm one of the colleagues from Maggreen. Good afternoon to everyone joining in, and welcome to today's session. So first things we like to do is the ground rules. So please mute your microphones, and we would like to say that all communication should be done with respect. And please introduce yourselves in the chat box if you're just joining us, and welcome to today's session. My super excitement today knows no bounds. So what our agenda is for today is, first of all, introduction. The second part will be, how well do you know Africa? And today I'm so happy because I'm moving around Africa slowly with Maggreen. Then I would introduce our guest speaker for today. We will then move on to having the questions and answers after we've had a presentation by our guest speaker. Then we'll follow up with that with our closing remarks. So I would like to quickly do an introduction about Maggreen. So Maggreen is an organization poised at empowering everyone with knowledge about the energy transition and combating climate change. Maggreen is founded by three beautiful women who you would get to see in further slides. The vision for Maggreen is to build a community of like-minded people and organizations across Africa and also the world at large, where we are willing and ready to combat climate change and make Africa green and clean. This series of our webinar is poised at learning from each other because we have learned and seen a knowledge gap amongst African youth regarding climate action, net zero targets, and energy transitions across our different countries. And over the past 5 weeks, we have been able to learn from different speakers about Africa and their net zero plans for their countries. We have been lurking around West Africa, and for today's episode, we are going to move all the way to the southern part of Africa. Without further ado, please look at your screens at the beautiful faces behind Maggreen, our dream team, which we have Mary Dora Kamara, who is our programs coordinator. We have Aisha Suleiman, who is the communications and partnership coordinator, and also we have Georgette Udo, myself, who is the technical coordinator. My favorite part of today has to do with guessing if you know Africa so well. So I'll quickly put a link in the chat box where we get to see if you know Africa better. So please click on the link, which will take you to where we'll do the Mentimeter session, where we get to hear your answers to different questions we have. You can either tap on the link as shared in the chat box, or you can scan the QR code on the screen. So I'll quickly stop sharing and share the questions page. And if you're not able to scan the QR code, please feel free to click on the link in the chat box. Wow, I can see people have already joined in. So please let me know if you can see the screen, and I can see more answers are trickling in. So the first question is, what is the capital of Zimbabwe? Zimbabwe is a country in the southern part of Africa. So do you think it's Harare? Do you think it's Mutare, Kampala, or Oran? I'll wait for a few more seconds before I say the answer. So yes, indeed, Harare is the capital of Zimbabwe. Let's proceed to the next question. Which of these animals cannot be found in Zimbabwe? Is it kangaroo? Is it lion? Is it elephant? Is it giraffe? One of the things I got learning about Zimbabwe is that they also have parks, natural parks in Zimbabwe, and it's a home to some of beautiful animals and habitats. So let's see if you've gotten your answer right. It's lion, unfortunately. From the reserves they found that kangaroos are still available in Zimbabwe, but lion is almost going extinct in Zimbabwe. So the next question is, what is the highest mountain in Zimbabwe? Is it Mount Kilimanjaro? Is it Mount Ararat? Is it Mount Zimbabwe? Or is it Mount Yangani? Okay, I can see some confusion today. Is it Kilimanjaro? Is it Ararat? Is it Mount Zimbabwe? Is it Mount Yangani? Please don't Google. This is the fun part when you're not able to figure it out. Let's see if your guessing skills could help you now. So the correct answer is Mount Ararat. So what is the most popular sport in Zimbabwe? Is it cricket? Is it soccer? Is it rugby? Is it basketball? Are you sure? I see people taking soccer. I'm not throwing no shades, but the last AFCON did we see Zimbabwe? That should tell you that maybe it's not actually soccer, because Zimbabwe is home to lots of sports aside soccer. Could it be basketball? Could it be rugby? Could it be cricket? Okay. See people are switching it up. The correct answer is cricket in Zimbabwe. Thank you all so much for these, and I'll quickly proceed to introducing our guest speaker for today. So for today, we have the privilege of having Miss Ntando all the way from Zimbabwe. She is a dedicated and passionate climate change expert with a strong focus on implementing climate change mitigation and sustainability interventions. She has a deep understanding of the urgency and importance in addressing climate change. She works tirelessly and makes a positive impact on the environment and at the same time empowers others to do the same. Without further ado, I would like to hand the floor over to Ms. Ntando, and thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you to everyone who has joined us. I hope you get something from this presentation, and I hope that you're going to also spread the message to everyone who's not part of this. So I would like to actually go straight to our slides.
Okay, are you sharing your screen or do you need us to share the screen?
Okay, I'm sharing the screen if it's okay.
Yes, please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, please bear with me for a minute.
Ntando, if you need any help, please feel free to tell us. We'll be happy to share. But in the meantime, thank you everyone for joining, and we'll just wait a few minutes. I think Ntando is having a little issues with her connections or sharing her screen. So please give us a few minutes to sort it out.
Okay, sorry, is it okay if you open the presentation from that side? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Just give us a few minutes to prepare it for you.
Okay.
Hi, Sandro. Please could you share the slides with us?
Okay, okay, I'm sending it.
Okay, thank you. Hi everyone. If you see the chat, you could see Aisha's asking if you learned anything from the chat. So from the quiz we just had, please feel free to share your ideas. You can unmute yourself and we can get to speak while waiting for the presentation slides.
Hi everyone, my name is Mary. I'm from Sierra Leone. So basically, I've learned a lot because, like, when it comes to the most popular thing that's Zimbabweans are interested in, I was actually thinking it's soccer. But I realized when Georgette was saying, and they did not qualify for AFCON, and also I had to go for cricket. I was like, I didn't have any idea. So I just switched and said, okay, if it's not basketball, it's cricket. So at least I tried. I'm not going for soccer. So that was how I saw myself going for cricket and all. And again, when it comes to the animal that is not in Zimbabwe again. So I chose kangaroo, but it was actually lion. So I mean, there's a lot that we that I've learned so far, like with this African energy series. I've learned a lot of things. Like I'll just think that I know a particular African country. Let's say maybe I know their currency and their capital city, and that's it. But there are lots of things that we don't know about ourselves. Yeah, I mean, this is really a great opportunity or a nice platform that we can use to really know Africa better. So, yeah, that's from my side. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary. And yes, indeed, it was really exciting journey for me when I was learning more about Zimbabwe. It's something that is really outstanding for me, and I'm really excited I got to participate and also see that I wasn't the only one lost from Zimbabwe. But before I continue, Ntando, please could you try sharing your screen because we haven't still been able to get the slides just yet. But about Zimbabwe, it's really exciting to see how the country is and how it's shaped and how many countries are closer to it. Can you hear me?
Can you please check on your Gmail? I just sent it on your Gmail because I'm having some technical issues this side.
Okay. All right then. Okay, so thank you all for being patient, and I believe our issues have been solved now, and we're going to present the slides immediately. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen, please?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Okay,
we can
great.
see
Thank you.
it.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Ntando.
Okay, thank you so much for the patience. Thank you. So I'll be presenting on the energy transition plans and the net zero targets in Zimbabwe. My name is, it was said, my name is Ndajenkosi Matenga, and I'm currently in the climate and energy industry, where I'm actually working towards initiatives to reduce our temperature to a better world. So yes, thank you. So maybe this is just a presentation outline of what we're going to be looking at in our presentation, which is the brief overview of climate change in Zimbabwe, our energy generation mix, the energy challenges, the policy framework, our long-term goals, the net zero initiatives, the opportunities that are there in climate change, the recommendations, and lastly, conclusion. So wasting much of time, as we all know, Zimbabwe, it is a landlocked country which has got its neighbors is Botswana, Zambia, Mozambique, and South Africa. So we've got a projected temperature increase of 1.5 by 2040 if we remain in a business as usual scenario. So if we actually don't do anything about our climate change, we're most likely to even exceed to 3 degrees Celsius by 2050. Recently in Zimbabwe, our president announced a state disaster due to the El Nino droughts. And this on its own means that there's going to be havoc across the Southern Africa. There's going to be havoc in Zimbabwe. There's going to be havoc even worldwide because of Zimbabwe's national disaster. Currently, our energy generation mix is that we Zimbabweans depend solely on coal. It depends on wood fuel. It depends on petroleum fuels. What does this mean for our climate change? It means that more GHG emissions are going to be released into the atmosphere. And what does that mean? It means that there's going to be more heat trap. More heat trap means that our climate change, our global warming is going to increase. Increase in global warming is going to lead to more energy poverty. As it is currently, our energy poverty in Zimbabwe is at 48.9, which is almost 50%, which means that 50% of Zimbabweans do not have access to electricity. We've got an installed power generation of 2.8 megawatts, but it's not enough to cover the whole of Zimbabwe. Due to the announcement of the El Nino droughts, it means that strains are going to be put on our Kariba Dam, which already currently has got low water levels. So it means that with time, if we continue with business as usual, we're going to actually reach a stage whereby we no longer have anything. In Harare, we don't have water capacity. Already it's an issue. It has been an issue for a very long time, but the issue of climate change is going to make it even more worse. So yeah, we really need to work on our climate issue. So we've got intertwined climate challenges in Zimbabwe. As I've mentioned, the issue of insufficient water availability. We've got also the issue of poverty. We've got limited access to socio-economic services. We've got limited access to natural resources on our own as Zimbabweans. We've got heavy reliance on rainfed agriculture, meaning that due to the announcement of droughts, we are going to have high poverty levels because most Zimbabweans, we rely on agriculture. We rely on agriculture for our incomes. We rely on agriculture for everything, literally. So this intertwined climate change issues is actually a danger zone to us Zimbabweans. The issue of high population growth, which places pressure on public services, on infrastructure. Most people in Zimbabwe, they're actually moving from the rural side to the urban areas, which means that more pressure is being exempted onto the urban side. And also we've got gender issues. This is a very sensitive issue in that it involves women who are actually on the forefront of climate change vulnerabilities. And we've got youths, which solely depends on good economic services for them to function mentally. We've got the intersectionality gender, which we really mention about the LGBTQ. We've got the disabled. In a scenario like this, whereby we've got a national disaster, it means that the disabled are actually more vulnerable. We've got lack of private sector inclusion. Zimbabwe's level of private sector inclusion is currently at low levels. And already, because private sectors are actually the ones who are exacting most of GHG emissions, and us not including them into those initiatives already, it's a serious thing. So in Zimbabwe, we currently have policies in place towards our climate change. We've got the updated NDC. It was updated in 2021, which covers all the sectors in Zimbabwe, which need some adaptation and mitigation measures. We've got the National Climate Change Response Strategy, which is focusing mostly on the sustainable agriculture, agroforestry, etc. Then we've got the Climate Smart Agriculture Program, which has been running for a very long time, and it has been helping most Zimbabweans, especially farmers, the Pumvudza one. We've got the Renewable Energy Policy, which was developed in 2019, sorry. So on the Renewable Energy Policy, it's mainly measures that we're actually putting to reduce our GHG emissions. We've got the Environmental Management Act, which was developed in 2020, which mainly focuses on waste management, fall management, and agricultural sectors. So all these policies have been put in place so that Zimbabwe is able to reach its net zero target. All these policies have been put in place, though not yet binded, but they've actually been put in place to strengthen our initiatives. Okay, then we've got our energy long-term goals. These are mostly covered in our NDC, whereby we're saying that we want to expand our solar to 300 megawatts in 2025. We've got also the expansion of microgrids, both in the rural and urban areas. We've got the development of biogas capacity, whereby we're saying that we want to move towards clean cooking by 2024. Then we've got energy efficiency improvements in the agricultural sector and in the commercial sector, whereby we're saying that everything of ours in Zimbabwe should be clean. We've got a reduction in biodiesel fuel, which we aim to reduce by 2% in 2030. Then we've got the issue of transport e-vehicles, which we're saying that by the time we reach 2030, would have reached somewhere in terms of e-vehicles, as well as I mentioned earlier, that we have got issues to do with high population increase. So we are actually working towards increasing more of transportation using buses so that we reduce the GHG emissions that are actually a problem to our society at this time. So the current net zero initiatives by Zimbabwe, I'll just go through quickly. We've got the issue of solar powered irrigation systems. These are set to offset 50 tons of carbon dioxide each year. And we've got and those solar powered irrigation systems, they actually promote entrepreneurship for the rural people, for farmers, and they actually improve as well the sustainability of our agricultural system, of our food security. So we've got these initiatives. Though we are saying that we can still do more, we are saying that youth can still partake in such. In most solar powered irrigation systems and in most farming systems in Zimbabwe, we've got lack of participation of youths. We've got lack of participation of the intersectionality. So we need more of them. Then we've got the rural electrification. So Zimbabwe, together with international organizations like the UNDP, they actually recently commissioned 1,100 health facilities that were actually installed with solar systems. What does this mean for the rural and marginalized communities? It means that they're going to have uninterrupted health services. It means that even during labor time, especially for women in the rural areas, they won't need to bring candles, which are not even enough. They won't have to actually, because you know, in these things of giving birth, sometimes you can be told that you're now moving into the C-section. And imagine in the case that you don't have electricity in the hospital, it means that you're already at danger. It means that you and the baby are not going to survive. So we are grateful that rural electrification systems are actually being put in place. And this means that we're already moving towards a positive change in Zimbabwe. As we all know, Zimbabwe is currently the largest producer of lithium in Africa after Australia. And this means for us, what does this mean for us Zimbabweans? It means that more investors are going to come in. It means that our economy has got a potential to rise. It means that change is coming toward our way. And already we've got a 6 megawatt battery energy storage project that supplies clean electricity in the Sino mine owned in the Bikita area of Zimbabwe. So we really have to make sure that we take advantage of this lithium. We really have to make sure that more youths are actually knowledgeable about the lithium. Then this is usually my hottest spot, because I'm fond of clean cooking. And currently there is a youth in Zimbabwe who's got an organization called BioBotech. Is actually in the business of producing those biodigesters as seen on the slide. So this is a way for us to initiate clean cooking. What does clean cooking mean for us? It means that most women are no longer going to be affected by air pollution. It means that because currently the level of women and children dying is way too much. This is due to air pollution. This is due to already, because you spend most of your time in the wood looking for wood fuel, because as I mentioned earlier, women are in the forefront. They are the ones who care about the household food. They are the ones who care about the kids. because usually a man has got an option to just flee. So already us initiating issues of clean cooking, it means that we're putting our women first. It means that we're reducing fatal rates. It means that we're empowering our children, we're empowering our youths as well. So clean cooking is one of the things that should actually be moved by youths again, because in Africa, we as the youths, Africa has got most of the youths. So imagine if we could actually move this clean cooking initiative. Imagine if we could have more youths in the biotech industry. Then we've got wind energy in Zimbabwe. Private companies, for example, the Optet and the Tatanga, they are embarking on significant venture of the construction of plant. These are supposed to be in subsidiary with the ZETTC in Zimbabwe. On wind energy, honestly, we are currently on the low. Zimbabwe's wind energy skills are at 5%, if I may say, because less initiatives are there towards wind energy. And we really need to push towards wind energy, because in Zimbabwe, we've got an open space which allows wind energy to be moved appropriately. Then we've got initiatives of hydro energy. We've got the Lake Motirikwi. We've got also the Kariba. But then on the hydro energy, because of higher temperatures, more evaporation has occurred. It means that most of our lakes are drying up. And already it's another problem on its own. So we need more of dam constructions. We need more of initiatives that actually push hydro energy. Yes, we have the Lake Motiriki running, but it's not enough. It's not enough for the whole of Zimbabwe. It's not enough if we are going to really get to less than 40. Then we've got the issue of carbon credits and carbon sinks. Recently, a regulation was made whereby Zimbabwe is saying that we want to venture into carbon credit investments. This is just a platform where the state and private parties, they can sustainable deal and trade in carbon credit. We are also saying that the amount of carbon dioxide emitted should be equal to the amount of carbon dioxide that is removed. We're saying that to those organizations that want to work towards removing carbon dioxide, they are supposed to be incentivized. Our current problem is organizations that are coming up to do these carbon credits initiatives. They are being charged a lot. They are saying that the amount that they get, they are actually going to, the government is actually going to take 80% of what they make. So already it's a challenge on its own as well. Then we've got the issue of afforestation, which act as carbon sinks. So many youths are out there planting trees. Yesterday I attended a tree planting whereby we're planting crotons, and it's actually a good initiative to see youths out there planting trees. Yes, it helps a lot. Even wherever you are, make sure that when they are planting workshops, attend them, because sometimes you might not be given a platform to actually speak about climate change, but you can actually be given an opportunity to plant a tree. That means a lot towards our global system. So the opportunities that are there for the youths in Zimbabwe, already, as we all know, we want to move to a green economy, we want to move to a high quality of life. So already there's going to be more employment, green employment. There are going to be more green jobs out there. But then what does it mean for a youth in Africa? What does it mean for a youth in Zimbabwe? It means that you should equip yourself with education towards climate change. Most times we say that youths are not invited, youths are not included, but do the youths really know what they really want to do? Are they equipped enough? It doesn't take someone at times to actually come and teach you. You can teach yourself. There are so many sites that are there. We've got the UNEP, it's actually offering e-learning services. We've got the UNITA, it's also offering educational services. Take advantage of those things. You might never know where it will take you. We've got also the opportunity to stimulate ancillary industries. Youth are known for being creative. So the more youth we have out there, the more youth come out in Zimbabwe, it means that our GDP is going to grow massively. We've also got opportunities for standalone solar rooftops. Sometimes you don't want to make it big, but you can start by doing some standalone solar stuff. Currently, I know that for importing of solar, we've got they are duty, it's actually now duty free, which means that you don't pay for coming in with solar. And youths, these are the opportunities for us to actually take advantage of. There is also an opportunity for us to introduce binding frameworks. What does it mean? It means that we follow up every policy that has been made. If they said that they are going to make sure that our voices are heard 30 times compared to the previous years, we follow them up. We ask them, where are you with this initiative that you suggested? I love an organization in Zimbabwe called AYICC. The way how they actually follow up on these kind of issues, it's amazing. And I can imagine if all the youths do that. There's also the empowerment of youth farmers. Most youths are actually older people. Where are youth farmers? Where are youth farmers in Zimbabwe? Where are youth farmers in Africa? I think if we actually put ourselves out there as youths, nothing is the limit for us. We can actually delve into farming. We can actually delve into creating employment on our own for ourselves. There's also the issue of sustainability. This is an opportunity for the youth because we can actually initiate sustainable actions. There's the issue of waste management. So many papers, after you finish eating whatever you eat, you throw the paper on the floor. What does it mean? It means that you are not doing your part towards climate change. But imagine if the number of youths in Africa actually start saying, okay, I'll take care of my rubbish, I'll take care of my waste. This could actually mean a positive relation towards our climate change. We've got the issue of scalability, whereby we're saying that all the policies that have been put, all the initiatives towards climate change mitigation and adaptation have been put, are they really feasible? We are the ones who are supposed to actually strengthen those initiatives by saying that you said that we are going to participate in all youth forums, but is that really happening right now? So these are the opportunities that are there for the youth of Zimbabwe and of Africa. Then towards our recommendations, we can actually mobilize additional financial resources. Most organizations that are actually youth-led, they've got the potential to receive funding. So maybe let's go for that. Sometimes I know it's hard to reach out to someone due to other issues, but let's try to do that. Let's go to people that can actually be incubators for our ideas and say, you know what, I've got a youth organization that I'm actually leading and we need so and so. You might never know. So I think we should actually mobilize additional financial resources. Put yourself out there. Go to international organizations. Tell them about your vision. I'm sure they are going to be able to assist. And only sometimes financial resources come through networking. So your ability to actually network, it can actually put you at a better point. Then we've got the strengthening of institutional capacity for climate action. We have to strengthen women. We have to strengthen education sites, going to schools as youths, speaking about climate change, increasing, boosting capacity, talking about early warning systems. I know there are so many engineers, especially for those that are actually about to go to universities. Those are the people to actually look for, because you can actually tell them that, you know what, due to the current climate issue, why don't you go for renewable engineering? Why don't you go for a climate action program? So we actually have to maximize on strengthening our institutional capacities. Go out there and speak to someone about climate change. We've got recommendation to address barriers to renewable energy deployment. I think I've tackled this. Also, there is the enhancing of climate resilience in key sectors like agriculture. As well, I tackled about this, but maybe just to add on, there are actually 4 most important key sectors in the climate change. We've got the agriculture, we've got the energy, we've got the AFO, and we've got the waste management. All those sectors should be strengthened with climate resilient options. They're actually supposed to be strengthened by us as youths. The more you learn about climate change, the more empowered you are. The more you are able to actually go out there and speak something that is going to be heard by the next person. We've got also the issue of gender and youth inclusion. This is currently a problem, and as I mentioned earlier, that it's a sensitive issue. But even though it's sensitive, we actually have to make sure that we are included in everything. We actually have to make sure that we put ourselves out there as women, as youth, everyone else. Let's put ourselves out there. Even as men, let's put ourselves out there towards climate action. Then we've got the private sector involvement. Private sectors are of very paramount to us in terms of climate change. So we really need to actually have more of private organizations coming out, getting involved in climate action, getting involved in energy transitions, getting involved in carbon sink initiatives, getting involved in wind energy, in everything that has got to do with climate mitigation. So this is the end of my presentation, and I hope I've been clear enough, and I hope that you also give out your questions and we help each other towards climate change, because I believe that it's about you and me. It's not going to affect anyone else other than you and me. So why don't we do something together today? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ntando. And I want to take the opportunity first to pronounce what's on the screen. Tinotenda and Siyabonga. Could you please correct me?
Yes, that's actually correct. Thank you, Tinotenda Siyabonga.
Siyabonga. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was really a very insightful and I could feel your passion from what you were presenting. It was really good and I really appreciate it. And please, I can see people clapping in the background and thank you so much. So please, if you have any questions, now would be a good time for you to please share. You can either raise your hand and unmute yourself and explain your questions, or you can put it in the chat box. So while we wait for others to share their questions, I would start by just giving some comments, because you said climate change is going to affect me and you, and we should always try to involve ourselves. one of the parts of the presentation I really enjoyed was when you gave your recommendations about what we can do moving forward. And you went the extra mile to be able to cite like places we could find this knowledge. So it wasn't just that we're telling us to go out there and search for them, but you also provide certain solutions to the problem. And I could see you really spoke about the gender biases when it comes to climate change and how it affects us. You gave us a picture of Zimbabwe very clearly, and it was really insightful because sometimes we feel like it only happens in our countries, but when we hear that it's also happening to the other countries too, we share similar things in common, and we're able to see, okay, if this is working for them, we can also benefit from it. So from the solutions you shared, I believe that we can practice this in our different countries, and it would also be of good help to us. So please, if you have your questions, feel free to share your questions now and we'll be happy to take from you. So my only question in the meantime will be about the biodigesters you made mention of, because you also talked about migration of people. So are these biodigesters, are they easily being spread across the country, or it's just something that's still in its upstarting phase? Could you give a little more insight about that?
Okay, thank you so much. So on the issue of biodigesters, I only know of from my study. I
Hi,
only know
Ntando.
of
Hi.
three
Okay, good.
organizations actually
We lost you for a
initiating.
bit. Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now clearly.
Okay, so on the issue of biodigesters, I only know of three organizations which are currently implementing this. And it's actually an opportunity again. There's a gap there. The gap is actually to say that if only land force, I know of land force, I know of biotech, and another private organization. So it means that already there's a gap. There is a gap for us to actually fill as the youths, because only one youth has come up with that initiative. But imagine if we could actually all learn from that and implement the biodigesters, we will actually do something better towards our climate change. So to answer your question, yes, there's a deep knowledge gap on biodigesters in Zimbabwe.
Okay, thank you so much. There's a question in the chat I'd like to read to you for your advice. So the first one here is, from what's happening in climate change around the world, do you think it is better to rely more on hydroelectric power in Zimbabwe, or you think we can use other means of generations and rather than relying on hydroelectric power? Because the person says recently there are cases as lowering water levels over and over. So do you think we should diversify the energy or we should still stick to making more of hydropower?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. So as I mentioned earlier, due to droughts, due to high temperatures, due to global warming, we can't rely on hydroelectric power. We'll be actually putting ourselves in danger. We'll be actually putting our women in danger, because already even our youths, in terms of them having access to their education system, it already disconnects them. There's a picture that I actually put in my second slide, whereby I was showing students studying in the dark using candles. So we can't really depend on hydro only. We need wind, we need solar, we need hydrogen energy, we need like all the energy, clean energy initiatives we can get. We need them. We can't really depend on hydro. It's not really going to work towards our climate action.
No, okay. Okay. Thank you so much for that answer. Bobby, I believe that could answer your question. And the second question here is, what is the exact year for the net zero target in Zimbabwe? And what do you think that Zimbabwe is doing well that other countries can learn from in terms of climate action?
Okay, and the net zero target for Zimbabwe, it's 2040. And they are saying that they actually reduce their GHG emissions by 40%. Which from what I see, it's not an easy attainable percentage. And with the way how we are moving currently, I don't see that happening. Unless we really upscale our move, yes, we can reach there. We can reach a reduction in GHG emissions of 40%. But because already we're in deficiency of electricity, it's going to be a tough call for us to switch from coal to fully active renewable energy. That's the honest truth. So already there's a gap there in terms of what was written down and what's going on ground. Then can you please come again on the second question?
So the second question is asking, what do you think Zimbabwe is doing well that other countries can learn from? I'm guessing like the Biodigester initiative, or do you have any other things you would want us to learn from Zimbabwe?
Okay, we've got the biodigesters, and solar is everywhere. Also, we've got lithium in Zimbabwe. So most of organizations, they're taking advantage of that lithium. So maybe if also other countries can actually reach out to Zimbabwe to say that we need that lithium that you have, so that we also move our initiatives on solar empowerment. So Zimbabwe, due to its natural resource capacity, lithium is moving on well, as well as biodigesters. And I think also on the issue of rural, reaching out to the rural and marginalized areas. Most organizations, they're actually going out there to capacitate women, to strengthen entrepreneurial farmers. And already that's a recommended thing. That's a good thing, because we know that because Zimbabwe already depends on rain-fed food, it means that our food security can actually be upscaled effectively.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You've really explained it properly, and that's really insightful. So, okay, so there are some comments for you in the chat, and I'd like to read them to you. So the first one is from Joshua, and he says, no questions for now, just to congratulate you, the presenter. They could feel your passion from the matter, and they're happy to connect for further discussions and collaborations. I'm more interested in local capacity building initiatives for Energy Food Nexus. Can you drop your LinkedIn handle if you don't mind? So please feel free to share your LinkedIn handle on the chat, because people would like to connect with you after this. The second one is saying the use of lithium batteries as a source of energy is really great, but my concern is on the mining of lithium. To what extent does this mining of lithium affect the environment and climate change? And to what extent does the disposal of lithium batteries affect climate change, climate and environment in general?
Yeah. That's actually a very good question. That's a very good question. I'm also concerned about that, because on the recent Indaba, such issues were actually raised to say that yes, we're going to mine lithium, but what is it going to cause towards our environment? We are in danger as well. That's why I mentioned that for Zimbabwe, to actually reach 40% of reduction in GHG emissions by 2030, it's a long road. And it's something that's written on paper, because already we have got issues with land degradation, and now we've got more investors coming for lithium. It means that more problems are going to be actually experienced. But is it not better to actually, now the question would be, what is better? For us to actually have mining issues, or for us to actually have electricity deficiency issues? Now that's an open discussions for Zimbabweans to say that yes, lithium has got a promise for us to actually have better energy, but what about the environmental impacts of it? So I think that's actually a question for a deep research, and it's actually an opportunity for the youth to now actually find out what can be done better during the mining of lithium. What frameworks or what policies can actually be put so that we say that, okay, investors, they are coming in to get our lithium, but then we've got these policies that have been followed. At least they've got the ability to reduce environmental impacts. I hope I've answered the question well.
Yes, you did. And I hope, Mutafa, I hope that answers your question. And the last question for this, because I know we've gone a little bit above the time limit we gave. So yes, I do support your view, as well as taking Zimbabwe as an example. How will we achieve, how will that be achieved? Basing from these European countries where I was studying for my MBA, we have decades to catch up. So how can the youth contribute? So I think this is a backup question from where he was asking about the other possible energy choices we have with Zimbabwe aside the hydropower. Because if you're like compared to other countries, we are a bit behind when it comes to
Yeah,
technological
yeah,
improvements. So how do you
yeah.
think youth can contribute to getting the other energy sources to play a high role?
Okay. Thank you so much for that follow-up question. So firstly, I would like to actually put this as an advice to say that I mentioned earlier that we have to have we have to strengthen institutional capacities. We have to actually say to the youth, especially those that are going to be moving to college, to say that, you know what, these are the programs to actually take up. Why? Because they are going to address issues to do with climate change. Then we've got youth in saying that let's advocate, let's learn more. Let's learn more, because our challenge is going to be that if other countries, especially the world first class countries, are also having issues with them trying to mitigate their GHG emissions, what more of African countries? Hence, that's why I mentioned that for us to really reach 40% in Zimbabwe, it's going to be a tough call, because countries like China, they're actually targeting 20%. What more of Africa, of Zimbabwe, which already has got a deficiency and has got a bagged economy? So as youth, we can contribute by advocating for climate. Let's advocate, especially on our government. We've got political issues, and we as youth, I believe that we can actually stand, because most of our challenges as youth, they rotate around the politics of the government. So the more of us push, the more they will hear about us. And also another issue that we can do is, why don't we start doing things on our own? As a youth, let's organize ourselves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What can we start? Can we start standalone solar initiatives? Can we start our own biodigester? Can we start our own initiative towards carbon sequestration sinks? What can we do? So I think it's a thing of networking with other youths. You cannot do it alone. You need someone. So this is the time to actually look for people who are in the climate change spaces. What are they really doing? Ask them around, interact, because you need someone, as I mentioned earlier. So really, we really need to actually hold hands as youths towards the issue of climate change. So education, strengthen institutional capacities, create something for ourselves, go and actually ponder questions on the frameworks that have been put.
Thank you so much. That's a really good answer, and we are very grateful. And thank you all to everyone, and special thanks to you, our presenter, for giving us such an insightful one. We are really grateful. And please, Ntando, you have to put your contact details in the chat when people want to connect with you and interact with you. If you're okay with that, please put your contact in the chat. And in the meantime, I would also like to say a big thank you to everyone that took our time today to join. And pardon us for going a little bit beyond time. And I can see Nobesutu asked that it's a very informative session with meeting. Thanks to the presenter and the organizers, I completely enjoyed this and I look forward to more discussions. For more of these discussions, please make a date with us every Saturday from 1 p.m. GMT till 2 p.m. GMT. We will be having these sessions. We've had about 7 sessions before now from different countries in Africa. It's a whole series all year long where we get to hear from different countries across Africa. So yes, please be a part of us. And I'll quickly share my screen to show you our social media handles that you can join us with and get to see when we are posting and also get the links to our different social media platforms and see the different countries that you want to be a part of. And please share it with your colleagues, your friends, and everyone. So a special thank you to our presenter once again. Thank you so much. It was really informative and we've gotten to learn so much from you. I would also like to thank everyone for taking our time during your weekends to join. It's really good to have people that were sharing like minds, asking your questions, because the question gives us more insight on how you're enjoying, and we can also learn from the questions you're sharing. Thank you everyone for joining, and do have a lovely, lovely weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for having me. I have shared my LinkedIn URL.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.